ETC, we start with daily chart. We want to see whether we can look for the reversal or not. As we know, we didn't have much update since most of the chart they have a similar movement, and since the price was within this correction here, we mentioned if the price cannot break the 63, then we can expect this one turn to a flat. That's why we mentioned we can expect the price to drop, and this is what we get. But if you want to put this one as the last wave in relative to the first correction and the last, the price have to retest the previous low which I'm referring to right now, somewhere around the 32. Because if the price can retest the previous low, any reversal can be a sharp move, and we can expect for the long-term trade. Okay, but right now, as we can see, we're looking at this correction. If we move to daily lower time frame, okay, whether we can expect to see the divergence, this one is quite different from the rest of the charts, which we explain in my other analysis. Maybe if the price retests the previous low, maybe we don't expect to see the divergence. If we get the divergence, technically it can give us better confirmation for the reversal. But if we didn't get, it doesn't mean we cannot look for the reversal, because as you know, most of the charts right now, they have a similar movement. All right, the only thing is we're looking at the entire structure, we're looking at this flat. All right, and if we move to lower time frame, if we move to forward chart, from what I can see here, when we have this kind of the correction, technically it can be similar to what we have here. That means we can expect for price to drop. We need to be quite careful. Even if we want to look at this one as a correction relative to this, if we want to look for buy, we need to see the breakout of this correction. If the price break the top, then we can look for buy. Okay, now the question is whether we should wait for the price to retest the previous low to look for buy, or we can look at this one as a correction relative to this. I need to highlight that the best thing is if we see the continuation and price retest the previous low, which is the 32. If the price drop to 32, then any reversal from there, we can look for better trade setup, and even we can look for the long-term trade. But if the price reverse, that means it give us one move up without the price retest the previous low, then at that times we can look for this one as a bigger flat. We need to be quite careful about this. Okay, and from what I can see here, technically when we see this kind of the correction, we can expect the price to drop. That's why if you want to look for buy, as long as the price haven't retested the previous low, any trade is a short-term trade. But based on forward chart, we don't have any trade setup. And if I move to 1 hour chart, the way we can look at this one, we can look at this one as a flat. Okay, but since the price, if we put our line here, since the price haven't retested the previous low, which we're referring to this correction. Okay, right now we're talking about this correction because we mentioned we can look at this one as a flat, and since this down move haven't retested the previous low, still we can expect this one turn to a more complex correction. Okay, and to look for trade, as I explained, we can expect this. What we can see technically, we can expect to give us one more drop. At least we need to see the breakout of this. Then from there, we can look for the short-term buy. All right, but how about if the price continue from here? If you want to look for trade, the best thing is we wait for to see the confirmation and breakout of the 44. If the price can break the 44, that means if the price break this top, which is a 44, and above this line, if I put my line here above this, if we get any trade setup for buy, we will take the trade. We are not going to look for trade within this correction. Mostly we cannot get a really good trade setup within the correction because we are trading based on 1 hour chart. Okay, that's why if we want to look for buy, as I explained, based on forward chart, if we're looking at this one as a correction in relative to this, if we get any trade setup for buy, if we want to look for buy, we have to see the breakout of this correction. Either the price break the lowest price, if I put my line here, break the lowest price, which is 40.3, then we take the reversal from there, or we see the breakout of the 44. If we see the breakout of the 44 from here, then above that, any trade as a short move flag, we will take the trade. But whether we should look for the trade within the correction, from what I can see here right now, I won't suggest it. Even if this one turned to flag, not flagged, the only way is to put our entry above the top, and with the breakout of this top, we have to start to manage it. Okay, but from what I can see here right now, I need to highlight that we are not going to look for the trade without the trade setup, because from what we can see here, this one can turn to a deeper correction for one more drop. We need to be quite careful. Even if anyone wants to look for the trade from here, and they want to consider this one as a flag, the only way is to put the trade entry above the top. And what they want to see the continuation as a sharp move. And as long as the price break the 44, they need to start to manage, because simply the price, if you look at this one as a flag, simply the price can tag and drop. That's why I mentioned, if we want to look for the trade, either we see the breakout of the 44, then from there we look for the trade setup, or we wait for the price to break the lowest price of this correction, then any reversal from there we take the trade for the short term. But for the long term, what I want to see the breakout of the previous low, which is the 32. Anyway, still we can look at this one as a correction relative to this. Even if we put our fib here, we can see the breakout of the 61%, but still we can consider this one as a correction. But again, we don't have really good trade setup, and what we have here technically we can consider as a correction for a one more drop. All right. Anyway, we don't have really good trade setup, not even the etc most of the charts, but the only reason is we're trying to give the update. We want to see whether we can look for the trade for the long term or not, at least be within the daily correction. In this case, from now we just follow the chart. If I see any update or trade setup, then I will share. Thanks.